good.
Thought we might reflect on the year that was, because it has been a doozy of a year, and I'm tired but also pretty chuffed at how the year's gone. So I thought we might ask some questions of each other and see what we say. What do you reckon?
Great idea. I'm happy with that.
Excellent. So let's start out with what stands out for you as one of Jigsaw's biggest achievements this year.
Jo, I'm going to go with creating community. So the reason that one stands out for me is because we've done some work as an organisation to build a community. And as we've done that, the community has engaged really well with that and started driving that themselves. And what that's looked like practically is we've developed programs where people have connected and built relationships. The program ends, they continue to connect with each other. And so for me, that's a really big achievement, because that's part of the reason we're here, to make people connect, like-minded people with shared experience, particularly the shared experience of adoption.
For me, it kind of builds on that community, because I've been working with Jigsaw for 11 years almost now. I think it's just a few months away. And in that time, I've learnt an awful lot from everyone in the community, from researchers, from academics, from, just the lived experience, peer support, all those kinds of things. And that's everything that I drew on when I was working on the submission for the Commission of Inquiry into Child Safety and Review of the Adoption Act. So you and I sitting down, working out what we're going to say and how we're going to say it, and trying to streamline that process. So that was something I spent an awful lot of time, in that headspace this year, and it really did build on everything that we've been learning from the community. And I've been personally learning from the community for 11 years. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you the next question then.
Sure.
What surprised you most about this year? Something you didn't expect but you're proud of?
I didn't expect that they would take away 33 years worth of search rights from us. I did not see that coming, and I did not see it coming with no consultation, and that we would just be blindsided by that information. What stood out for me about that is how our community came together on force and said that was not good enough. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
And they rallied, and we are actually able to turn that over in 2 months. And I was also surprised by that. I did not think that we would turn that around, and I didn't think we would turn it around so fast. So that's a big standout.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, I think, in a number of ways, positive and negative for me. And that kind of actually goes to what surprised me most about this year in terms of the effectiveness of our advocacy in that circumstance. Because I think if there's significant social change that's planned, you can plan your advocacy for that and respond to that. But this was out of the blue. There was no way we could predict that was going to happen. And so it was unexpected, it was distressing, it was unfair, it was such poor policy on the part of the government. So for us to dive straight into that space and take responsibility for driving some positive change, then delivering that, and the community, I'm very proud of that for Jigsaw, but also for our community.
What are you most proud of in terms of team growth and organisational renewal?
I think I'm most proud that we've achieved what we set out to achieve for this year. And what I mean by that is the team we have now inherited an incredibly strong organisation, like an amazing legacy in Jigsaw. And we all were determined to build on that. And we've done that by maintaining what works really well, but then adding new stuff. So Jigsaw itself hasn't changed as an organisation, it's just grown. That's my assessment of it anyway. And so there's been renewal in existing services, there's been renewal in new programs, and the team, and I'm going to probably say this a lot, the team have just been amazing in terms of how they've embraced that and stepped up, because a lot of people don't function well in change, and there's been so much change this calendar year, and they've just been remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amount of transformation that Jigsaw has had in the last year is a risky time for any organisation. So I think team growth. We've just built a fantastic team. Essentially everyone is new, including you. And so we've all been figuring each other out and putting our best foot forward to create the best service that we can for Jigsaw and for all of our community. And I think we've achieved that. And I think everybody in the community is probably feeling at ease with all the changes.
I hope so. Yeah, I do hope so. So I want to ask you, when you reflect on where we were at the start of this year, what feels most transformative now for you?
I think the visuals in some way, like just even in the room that we're sitting in here at Jigsaw, anyone who's been in before and comes in now, like we've really tizzed the place up a bit and made it, just such a beautiful, welcoming and trauma-informed space. And that's really refreshing for me because Jigsaw, it's in an old building. Like a lot of people might not know where we operate from, but it's a very old building. It's not very big, and we do big things from this small building. And to see it full of sunshine and radiating, I guess, what the essence of Jigsaw is, that warmth and that welcoming and that community is really nice.
Yep. And that's funny because it was a deliberate plan, but it came out of our exercise of shared values. So when we came together as a new team late last year, or second half of last year, and we did that shared values exercise together, and then that got me thinking about what we are as an organisation and then wanting the physical manifestation of that to reflect what we are. So I think our goal was very much about warm and welcoming within a really tight budget. And with the limitations of a really old building. So I think we've done our best in the circumstances, and people have commented on it in a positive way throughout the year, which is wonderful.
How about you? When you reflect on where we were at the start of 25, what feels most transformative to you?
I think it's our credibility as an organisation, in that we have always been a credible organisation. That's why we've been around for 49 years. So that's not new. But I think this year with change, with new people in the team, which is scary for a tight community that are used to other people being in the team, I think our credibility has been cemented or confirmed, I'd like to think, for our community. And the way I think that shows is I think people know now that we have integrity in what we do. And that's about making tough decisions, or it's about making decisions that maybe not everybody agrees with, but we've kind of maintained our integrity through that. We've proven that we've got a strong drive in terms of our service delivery, and we've proven our commitment. And that's to clients individually, that's to stakeholders we work with, and the broader community.
Good answer.
So I'd love to ask you now about, our community. So what are you hearing most from community members about their needs or struggles?
I'm hearing that they still don't feel heard, that there's so much unfinished business from the Senate inquiry that they feel that they've been forgotten. I hear people say things like they're just waiting for us to die, and also a fear around the direction things are going at the moment, or seem to be going towards, expanding adoption, and they're like, has nobody heard from us? So they're not interested in our experiences and what we can tell you about the reality of adoption. And that can be really disheartening because, one of the biggest issues with being adopted is you can feel voiceless and powerless, and that your opinion or your life perspective isn't important. And I think that's something that I'm hearing a lot.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly about the frustration in our community. And that saddens me because it is 12 years since the national apology. And as a new member of the Jigsaw team, I'm astonished at the lack of political will to act on the recommendations from the inquiry. I believe it could have been done by now. So I guess that kind of disappoints me and astounds me. The community is very much communicating that. And the community, I think, is tired because of that, because of the period of time that has passed and the reasonable expectations they would have had when the recommendations were handed down. But we're working on that, to drive some positive change around that. The other thing that I feel I've been hearing from the community is around, how can I say this, that we're not an homogenous group. We don't all want the same thing on our journey, and we don't all need the same thing on our journey. So for example, support groups are the foundation of what we do, and they're really important, and they are life-changing for people who attend them, myself included. But they're not going to work for some people, and so some people come to us in different ways. They might come as a client accessing a service, but they may not go to a support group, and they might never go to a support group. So what we've tried to do this year is create other ways for them to engage with us. And that's been about listening to what they want, because we get feedback every day on the phone, which is fabulous, some of which we've been able to act on. And the Simply Social SS Jigsaw came out of that, in terms of people connecting in a support group and then wanting another forum or way to connect more socially in a less intense manner, just getting to know each other.
Yeah, really good points. So how have the peer support groups evolved, especially with our expanded team of peer support workers?
This is one of our biggest changes, and one I'm very proud of. We made the decision to transition from volunteer peer support workers to paid peer support workers. And that was because it's important that we respect the lived experience and expertise of people who have been impacted by adoption, wherever they're at on their journey. And it also aligns with the trend in social justice or social services, the recognising that people with lived experience are the best people to engage when you're designing or delivering a service. And it's also important because any trauma-informed practice needs to not be re-traumatising people engaged in the process or the service. What I'm really uncomfortable with is services that aren't based on lived experience, relying on people with lived experience, but not recognising the impact of that reliance on them. That makes sense to me. I hope that makes sense to you. So that's why it was really important for us to introduce that. And we're really fortunate because we already had this amazing community of people we could invite to join as peer support workers. It wasn't about needing to put an ad in the paper, because it's not just applying for a job. It's more of a vocation than a job.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's different about Jigsaw Queensland is, we are the only funded lived experience support service, federally funded in Australia. And frankly, that's what makes us pretty awesome at what we do, because lived experience sits at the heart of everything. And I value, as president of Jigsaw, lived experience peer support work as one of the biggest support parts of our support service that we offer. I value it that highly. I think it's one of the most important things that we do, and that's certainly the feedback I hear. And so valuing that by paying our peer support workers was very important.
Yep. And I want to share a moment with you, Jo. In May this year, there was a National Forced Adoption Support Service Providers meeting in Adelaide, which was great. It was fabulous to bring all the services together, those who could attend in person. There were 12 of us around that table, and we had a day together to talk about issues, service delivery, plans for the future. And at the end of the day, I felt unusually tired by the day, and I wasn't sure why I felt so tired. But then as I was leaving, I realised that of the 12 people, I was the only person with lived experience. And my heart broke a little bit, because I thought 10 years into forced adoption support services, 12 representatives in the room, there was only one who had lived experience. So I think we've still got a long way to go in that space.
Yeah. What's that emoji? 2-hand emoji. So we've seen a lot of recurring themes in FASS inquiries. What patterns have stood out this year?
There's a few that come to mind. One is an increase in men impacted by adoption seeking assistance, which I love. I love that that's been happening. So they're reaching out to us now, primarily by phone, and they're wanting to find members of their birth family or their mother or their father. And most of them are in their 50s, so they're doing it at that late stage in life. And there's generally a bit of a difference in terms of men's expectations about the reunion journey. So we're making sure we invest a lot of time with them to talk through expectations and the process and the emotions of the different parties. So just so we can help them manage their expectations because of the unknowns in the reunion process. The other thing we've noticed this year is a lot of inquiries from people who are separated from family, but not through adoption. So separated through step family situations, for example, and have an element of discomfort, displeasure, or distress around that, and want support around that, but it not necessarily fitting within the scope of our purpose or our funding. And we've also had an increase, particularly earlier this year, in inquiries from people impacted by international adoptions. And we're guessing that came out as a result of a lot of the media at the time, particularly around the past adoption practices in South Korea.
And New Zealand, our friends from over the ditch in Kiwi land, they've been contacting us a lot as well. And big need for reform there.
Yes.
Big need for reform and support. So can you share a moment that reminded you why this work matters?
I actually have those moments probably once a week. And these moments for me are the key motivator for me to keep doing this work, particularly when, sometimes it can weigh you down, hearing those stories and hearing people's pain, particularly on the phone when they're strangers and it's hard to comfort someone on a phone. But the moments for me are when a person rings us for the first time and they say something along the lines of, "Hi, my name is, I'm adopted, but I've never spoken to anyone about it." Or, "I'm adopted and I've just realised the impact it's had on me." And those, now I get a chill down my spine. Those conversations get me every time, and they kind of, it's like, it's not sobering, it's more than that. It's like it hits me again, the importance of what we do. And the simple act of answering a phone call when that's the conversation is incredibly powerful for those people. So I love those phone conversations, and I love how our team responds to them, because that I know every time that person gets off the phone at the other end, even if it's an hour later, and they feel heard, understood, supported. And some of them, depending on where they're at and what they want, might feel a little bit of hope around, oh my God, yeah.
It's a real privilege to be the first person who somebody has ever spoken about their adoption story with. Adopt perspective, often I'm hearing somebody's story for the first time. They've never sat down and told it to anybody else, and that's, it's very impactful for me.
Yeah.
But I also am still meeting people all of the time. They'll come up and tell me their stories, people who are late discovery adoptees who've just discovered they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s. There's still a whole pile of people out here in Queensland and Australia who don't even know they're adopted, who haven't been told, the government hasn't told them, their family hasn't told them. The level of betrayal that they feel is just incredible. And if there weren't support services like us around for them, what would they do?
Yep.
Yeah. So small grants, it's been something that has kicked off this, not for the first time, but kicked off in a big way this year. What excites you most about the new projects that we approved and delivered this year?
What I love about this year's small grants projects is the lived experience delivery. So the majority of them have been ideas developed by people with lived experience of adoption and or delivered by them, which is exactly what small grants are designed for, to build community capacity and facilitate group healing. So that's mind-blowing for me. The other thing I've loved about them is the focus on group healing. So they've been really targeted healing opportunities for people in our community, rather than just talking, for example. So it's been like there's been therapeutic options and group options that and help people when they're at that stage of their adoption journey to dive deeper, to actually explore what we call the inner journey, the emotions around that, and the physical effects of the trauma on our bodies. So yeah, that for me I think is the highlight.
Yeah, well done you.
So I want to ask you now, Jo, about Adopt Perspective.
Yeah, okay.
Tell me what reaching 100+ episodes means for us.
Well, I didn't even know that we'd hit 100 episodes until somebody emailed and congratulated us for hitting it. And I'm like, oh, so we did. I knew it was close, but I hadn't realised I was so busy this year. I mean, that's incredible. I didn't know if we would go beyond one season. You know, I didn't even know we'd make it through one season. I didn't know if anyone would listen. So the impact it's had has been quite extraordinary. And it was intended to be an extension of our service to help us reach people in regional Queensland who couldn't attend our services, or anyone who couldn't attend our service face-to-face for any reason. And it certainly has hit that mark. It's I hear from people all the time that they've listened to every episode and it's really helped them, you know, along the way, which is great. But I think this year I have learnt the value of having 5 seasons in, 100 episodes up. And that is, there was a little seed right at the beginning when I came up with like the idea was that potentially it could have impact in an advocacy environment, I guess. And so what I hope it has provided us now is a voice that can be listened to at any time by government, by policymakers. You know, one of the things I found hard as an adopted person was finding words to put to what I was feeling inside, and maybe it's helped our community to be able to put words to how they are feeling, and that will help them advocate for themselves and advocate for their community as well.
The YouTube too, because we've gone from just audio to YouTube.
Yeah, so I was a little nervous about that because I am not, you know, a broadcast producer of any kind, you know, in any way, shape or form. But I thought I'd give it a go this year and do some video episodes. And I can't remember if was Paul Sunderland our first one.
He was, I think.
Yeah. Or bang! What a way to what a way to start. He was incredible, and I think it's allowed. I mean, it's a little vulnerable for me because people knew my voice, but they didn't know how I looked, or you know. So now people know who I am, which is a little vulnerable for me. But it also gives a face to Jigsaw, I think, which is really important, and it just gives people another, you know, a visual way to learn as well, because not everyone is a, you know, an audio learner. So it gives them another way to interact with Jigsaw and with the episodes. SS Jigsaw. Wow, what a success that was. What did we learn from this year's new social events?
I think we learnt that our community of people impacted by adoption are fabulous people. They're a diverse group of people, and they have a hunger for connection beyond the support groups. So I wasn't sure if it would be well received, but it was really well received, and I'm very grateful to everybody who's come to the SS Jigsaw events this year. What I've loved most about it is seeing people connect in that forum, which is more relaxed. So a social event is more relaxed. It doesn't mean we're all comfortable. Like I often go and I'm not comfortable because my social skills are somewhat limited. But connecting and bringing people together, we're starting to relax with each other. Friendships are developing, which is beautiful. And I think the biggest buzz for me is seeing individuals who I've gotten to know through this job stepping out of their comfort zone. I love that. So people trying things that they wouldn't try on their own is fabulous. And that helps me stay motivated for next year in terms of coming up with ideas for events for next year.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it was amazing. Such a good idea. And yeah, it's obviously been very popular. So, Helen, what has been the most meaningful part for you of leading the organisation together this year?
What I love about working here is it's not one person with one idea doing one thing. It's one person having a conversation with someone else in the team, which plants a seed. It's just a beautiful process, how the stuff kind of gets created. It's very much a team effort, and that's because everybody's equally invested. We have a beautiful team here where everyone is contributing to their max. So that is incredibly fulfilling for me as CEO.
Well, I read that question completely differently, and I was thinking the most meaningful part of leading the organisation together this year has been you and I leading the organisation together this year, because I really enjoyed the fact that we have a very different skill set and very different experiences and things that we bring to the table, and they're very complementary. So that's something that's been very meaningful to me, is to have someone like you next to me as we drive this organisation with the same heart and the same values, I think, but bringing different skill set in and watching what can happen, because we've been able to drive an awful lot this year. And so I just really enjoyed working with you.
Oh, likewise. And we do have a different skill set, don't we? And I love that, because when I can't think of something, you think of it, vice versa. Yeah, I think we work really well as a team.
2026, we are turning 50. Now, normally people aren't excited about turning 50, but Jigsaw is pretty excited. What are you most excited for?
I'm really excited because it gives us an opportunity over 365 days to celebrate everyone who's contributed to Jigsaw over the last 50 years. Like, that just blows my mind. And we've got plans, as you know, because we've been talking about our plans for next year. And what I feel confident those plans will do is enable everyone who's been involved over the last 50 years to feel good about their contribution or feel some ownership about our success. It's going to bring people together even more, but not necessarily physically. So these will be people at home who hear something on the radio and go, oh my God, I was part of that. Or, and that's what I love about a celebration of the 50 years.
Yeah. And for me, it's just a time to think back onto how Jigsaw was built on the backs of people who just wanted reform, and they worked so hard and they sacrificed so much. And, after 1991, a lot of them stepped away because they were absolutely exhausted, which, after the last few months, I understand why you might need to step back. I feel like it's a real honouring of all of the people who came before us, and all that we've learned from them. And to me, it's also about casting an eye to the future. Which brings us to the next question, which is, what do you imagine Jigsaw will look like 5, 10 or 20 years from now?
My vision is pretty big in terms of the potential. So I'd like to see Jigsaw as a larger organisation, both in terms of its size, funding, but impact as well. And I think we're really well placed to do that, because we're the longest running post-adoption support organisation in the country. So I see us as thought leaders in this space and practice experts in this space. And if we continue to lean into that, own that and honour that, then I don't think there's any limit to what we can achieve. So that's my main feel about that.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, we're all getting older, and what a lot of people don't know is that part of Jigsaw's constitution is that we also want to support donor-conceived people, and we're not currently funded to do that. But I would hope that over 5, 10, 20 years from now that there'll be more donor-conceived people that are involved with Jigsaw in the leadership and what we're doing, and maybe funding to provide services, all of those things. So that's definitely something I'd like to see.
Yeah, me too. In terms of the parallels between their experience and the experience of people impacted by adoption, yeah, I agree 100%. And there's a clear need there for that.
Yeah. So what message would you like to leave our community with as we close 2025?
A big sense of gratitude for everything that they've contributed to us this year. Their engagement, their feedback, their ideas. So really grateful for that. And I'd like to encourage people in our community to really take a break now, particularly because of everything that's happened since September, to really take a break so that we can regroup in the new year and celebrate our 50 years, but also continue the really important advocacy that lies ahead.
I just want to thank everybody in the community for all of the support that you've shown to Helen and I, and all of the FASS team and our peer support workers. The feedback, the love, the warmth that you give us really buoys us as an organisation and leaders in this space. We're very vulnerable. We have our lived experiences as well, and all of that feedback, support and love that we receive from you really buoys us and gives us the energy to keep moving forward. And so I just wish you a safe and peaceful holiday season, and look forward to seeing you all again in the new year.